Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am so happy to have you guys here with me today because, yay, surprise, surprise, we're talking about moving abroad. If you are watching this on the replay, hello, hello. Thank you for being here. If you're watching this because you have a special interest in France, yay, because I have a special guest for you. If you're watching this because you have an interest in moving abroad, we've got something for you to think about today. And if you're watching this because you love me so much, hi, friend. Hi, hi, hi. Super excited to be here and super excited to bring my guest on stage. Without any further ado, I'm bringing you the one, the only, Melissa Breau. Hi, hi.
I feel like a celebrity.
You
Hi,
are
ladies. Hi, Rashida.
you are a celebrity. Hi, Melissa. Thank you for being here. Okay,
Yeah,
so
my
Melissa,
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
oh, of course, of course. Melissa is coming here to us from you're in France. Are you in Paris? Where are you specifically in France?
Yeah, so right now, I'm in Paris in a little soundproof booth. But I live in the suburbs just south of Paris. So it takes me about like 35 minutes by train to get into Paris.
Okay. And Melissa, as you can see from her title, is a move abroad coach who can help you move to France or any other place you really want to move to. So I'm super excited to have her here today. Melissa is good people. So we're going to talk about that. Now, just to give everybody some basic demographics, where are you from?
So that's a hard. Okay, so I was born in New York. Parents moved to Florida when I was a kid, and we are of Haitian background. So Florida, mm, South
Florida,
Florida.
right? South Florida. Listen, if you're from an island, you pass through South Florida at some point, and you're in America. You pass right, like we all do our time in South Florida. Um,
That's true.
okay, so South Florida, and how long have you been in France?
Okay, so I came to France twice. So I did a shorter term move teaching English and I was there for 10 months. And now this time around it's more permanent and I've been here just over a year.
Okay, and how's that year been going?
Oh, okay. You guys have time? No.
No, we have none of the time.
The-
Although maybe we should wait on that a little bit. Let's okay, y'all. Remind me to come back to that question because Melissa's slide was too deep. I feel like that's too much for an intro question. So we're gonna get back to this one.
okay.
Okay, so do you mind telling people your age range? Age about
Yeah,
your
I'm in
about
mid, my mid 30s.
yes.
Do I
Okay.
look it? Let me see.
You know that black girl magic, who knows? You're 85, you're 12, who somewhere in between. You're somewhere in between. Okay. So how long have you wanted to move to France?
Oh, I've wanted to move to France since I was a little girl. So I always say about 5 years old. I think that's about the time my dad started teaching me French. And I would, at movies, rent, what are they called? Not DVDs. What were before DVDs? VHS.
Yes.
VHS from the library about France, and I would read about France. And so 5 years old, since 5 years old, I wanted to move to France. And then um, it got reignited when I took my first trip to France in 2017. And then I was like, oh, I have to find a way to move here. Oh, I like it too much. So,
Okay. What was it about France that made you say this is a must after your 2017 move?
whew, okay, don't laugh, ladies. Number one was the men.
Okay.
The men, they're different here.
I don't think I need to tell you, but I actually did. Last night, when I was trying to come up with the title for this, the original title was like French visas, French food, and French men because I knew I've never talked to her about this, but I knew men.
Okay.
I knew French men were in the equation. I just knew it, and so I was like, what, let me not. In case I'm wrong, let me not do this. But yes, all right. So that's no like terror. especially for a woman from America, it's not a terrible surprise that French men were part of the equation. So, what
So
else?
Frenchmen, of course, I like the French language. I like the style of the quality of life that they have here, the work-life balance. For example, they have 5 weeks of vacation, and they take them seriously. So, and like for example, Sunday is no work day. Sunday is a family day. So they take their like rest and relaxation very seriously. And yeah, it can be stressful in Paris, like any big city, but compared to the US, I found the pace a little slower and people enjoy life more. So I like that. I like things like the history, the buildings, the architecture, the all the museums, um, yeah, things like that.
Okay. Um, I made a note to come back to the men because we don't want to come back.
Okay, sure.
That's all right. Um, so you wanted to come to Paris in 2017. But you went and then you realized you wanted to live there. From 2017, your first move was in 2022. Is that accurate? Is she frozen? Am I frozen?
Okay, hello, am I back?
Okay, yes. Your first move to Paris was in 2022. Is that right? Is that when it was?
End of 2021.
End of 2021. Okay, the October-ish.
You remember all these things. It was yeah, I moved mid-September.
Okay, mid-September 2021. What was happening between 2017 and your first move in 2021? Was that the time you needed to get ready, or were you still kind of like thinking about it? What was that phase like?
Okay, so 2017 is the first time that I saw that moving to France is a possibility. 2017 was the first time I took moving to France seriously. It was always a dream, but 2017 was the first time I said, "Oh, I'm going to do this." And then when I got home, I found out about the TAPIF program, which is teaching assistant program in France. And I was like, "Oh, let me look into that." So that was one option. So this time was basically the research period. And it was also because I have my daughter, right? So I'm not together with her dad anymore. So it's like, oh, can I move? What do I do with my daughter? Will her dad let me take her? Do I have to just wait until she's in high school? So it was all those things that were going on between 2017 and 2021 and a pandemic in 2020. So
Little old pandemic, worldwide global monster. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So when did you decide to apply for okay. Is it too soon to get like into the details of a TAPIF program? I feel like it's we can get into it, right? Okay. So your first move to France was through a teaching assistant program.
Correct.
TAPIF, TAPIF.
Right.
All right. Tell us all about it.
Oh, so TAPIF is a program. Not only do they look for English speakers, but speakers of other languages. For example, my two roommates were from Spanish-speaking countries, Colombia and Costa Rica. So they can have people who speak Italian, Arabic, whatever, to come into the local schools in France, primary school, middle school, high school, and you teach English for up to 12 hours each week in the schools that you're assigned to. And they give you a little bit of money, and that's it. It's really just like a way to get to France if you're just like, I need to come to this and see what it's all about.
Okay. First, there's one big bummer about that program, and that for me is the age limit.
Oh,
let's talk about
yes.
that.
There is an age limit. It was bumped. Funny enough, when I first looked into it, they had just raised it from 30 to 35, which was good for me because I had just turned 30. So they raised it to 35. And I think recently they even it's normally you can do it 2 times max, and they just increased it to 3 times if you're under 35. I guess they need more people. But yeah, 35. And I know compared to like the Auxilia program in Spain, which I think is 65 or something. Yeah, it's a bummer. 35 is kind of young. But then also, I'm like, with the small amount of pay you get, I mean, I don't know if you want to be like 45 and getting like no money.
No money in France doesn't sound terrible to a lot of people, but we're going to talk about this program. Keep in mind the age limit is 35, but we're going to tell you in case if you're over 35, maybe you know someone under 35 who'd be interested in this. So, keep your pen out, keep taking notes. We're going to go through some of the details. Okay, so 35, you got paid pennies, but you had health insurance, right?
Oh, I did have health insurance. Wait, let's talk about the positive. That's true. I
Oh,
did have health insurance.
yes.
I was living like right near Paris. Uh, that is true. I did have access to baguettes and croissants, and yes. So honestly, in my case, it was really easy. I was lucky. My school, they don't guarantee housing, but my school, they had an apartment for teachers, and then they had one apartment that they set aside one for the language assistants. So I was able to get a room. It was like, this is my first time having roommates. I was like 34, 33, 34 with roommates. I was like, oh, I'm going backwards in life. But anyway, it was like a 3-bedroom apartment, 2 bath. It was 200 euros that they charged us. And we had a full kitchen, a washing machine. And since I was sharing it with 2 guys, they're like, because you're a girl, you get to get your own bathroom. I was like, oh, thank you. I love you guys.
Yay.
So it wasn't bad for me. I had a great time with TAPIF. Getting the insurance, health insurance was easy. Even at the end, they gave us, I guess because we fought for it, like France has all these protections to help you if you're struggling. And it was extra money at the end of the year because we were temporary workers. So they gave us like an extra month's pay at the end or like something. So a
Okay.
month or half a month. It was, yeah.
Okay. Now, I've heard you say that the TAPIF program encourages that you don't go over there broke. You have some own money. Like they know they don't pay you a lot, so they encourage you to save money and come with some of your own money before you come. Was it $2,000 they tell you to bring?
I'm not sure how much they tell you to bring. I just brought as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either you bring as much as possible or your parents, if you're younger, can help you out. Or some people here work under the work, like teach English under the table, for example, or babysit
Okay, because you said you're working 12 hours a week
12 hours a week.
and vacation time. Let's talk about that.
Oh, okay. So you're working 12 hours a week, and here in France, about every 6 weeks they have vacation. So the students have vacation. So every 6 weeks we were off for 2 weeks. Yeah.
It's not bad. It's not a bad deal.
Honestly, it was not. I think the biggest concern is like housing, because if you're not making a lot, it's hard to find housing. But in my case, I was fortunate. Some school districts will, or some schools will provide you housing. That's the best solution. Or out, yeah.
Okay. You guys, if you have any questions about the program or about Melissa's life in France, make sure you drop them in the comments so we can keep them. But I like talking to Melissa about this program because I feel like it's not something we talk about enough. And it's a possibility for a lot of people, right? If your goal in life isn't to make as much money as possible in this phase of your life, if your goal in life is to take it easy, this sounds a lot like taking it easy, right? How did you feel when you were doing the program? Did you feel like relaxed?
During the program, it was, again, I had it. So my teachers, I think I worked with seven or eight teachers. And I was in one school, fortunately. You can be in from anywhere from 1 to 3 schools. And my teachers, they told me each week what they wanted me to talk about. So I just got up and went to class. Oh, and my apartment was like a 1-minute walk from the school. So I just
Okay.
rolled out of bed, went to school. I was teaching in a high school. While I was doing it, I actually realized that I didn't mind teaching. That was the first time I was like, I could actually see myself doing this. And I like grew to like the kids. There was one kid when he was like, Miss, I have to tell you, like the other day you told me like that my English improved since I came back from my home country. He's like, that encouraged me so much. I was about to give up, but now I'm motivated to keep going. I was like, oh, that's why we do this.
Good. Good. So your job over there is to teach English to French speaking students,
Correct.
but you have to have some French proficiency to do this program.
You have to have, I think, a B1, I think, which is like an intermediate level of French. And they test that when you're doing the application. They either want to see like a reference from like a teacher or somebody, French teacher, somebody before attesting to your proficiency in French. Oh, you have to write an essay about why you want to do the program or something like that in French too. But are there people who are not proficient or B1 level when they do the program? Yes.
Okay, so some people sneak in under the radar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I do recommend knowing some French, because France is not one of those countries where they like speak English easily.
Yeah.
So it's best to know some French. Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about. Let's finish up this thought, which are what are the other requirements? Under 35, between 25 and 30. What's the bottom age range?
I didn't pay attention to that.
I feel like
I was concerned about the upper limit.
Yeah, all right. So under 35, 3 years of college. Did I hear you say that?
No. Under 35, not 3 years of college, because you could, I think you have to have graduated from college. Wow, did I pay attention to the requirements at all?
She said, "I mean, it don't matter. It don't matter."
I just know under 35, proficient in French. That's
it.
Yeah, that's what I remember. That's what I paid attention to.
Okay, under 35, proficient in French. What did we talk about specifically? How much you were paid? Are you okay sharing that?
No. Back then, I was paid, I want to say, after the social charges and taxes were taken out, I want to say 780, 90 euros a month.
Okay. So that's,
yeah.
I know someone else has already done this, but someone grab a calculator and let's figure out what that is. Oh, euros. Oh, child. 785?
Yeah, 780, 790. So yeah, let's go with 785.
$852.
Okay.
Right now.
For the month.
For the month.
Yeah.
Knowing that your rent was $200, would you be able to live on that amount of money?
Let's see. Did I eat during that? I lost a lot of weight. I think I ate like 2 times a day.
Okay. All right.
But I also lost a lot of weight because in France it's easy to lose weight, so because you're walking around all the time. So I did France, like I said, they have a lot of social protection. So a lot of teaching assistants, they apply for CAF, which is one of the aids that they give you is like rent assistance. So
Okay.
I applied for that too, and CAF gave me some money to go towards rent.
Okay. All right.
Would you be able to survive? I mean, I'm still alive, so I guess.
But you brought money with you. I guess my question is like, does someone already need to be like rich to do this?
Not rich, because I'm not that yet. Universe yet.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be rich. It's just if you're just relying just on TAPIF money, because keep in mind, like the bank, like the transportation pass, the Navigo pass, back then when I was doing it was 75 euros for the whole month to get you all around the Ile-de-France, all around the Paris region. So then you have food. If you want to go out a couple of times. Everyone I know was complaining about not having enough money. So you should bring some extra, but you don't have to be rich.
All right. So money is not a reason to do this program, right? Like getting paid is not a reason to do this program. But let's talk about what your life was like outside. Wait, I'm not going to do, am I going to do math real quick on camera? So there are 24 hours in a day times 7 in a week. Oh, no, what am I doing? 168 hours. I mean, you worked 12 a week. So you had 156 free hours.
I mean, that it sometimes it felt like I wasn't working. So I think I worked 4 days a week. My roommate, he was lucky, he worked 3. But I worked 4 days a week. I had Mondays off. And what did I do outside of that? During winter, I was hibernating because I'm from South Florida. Like I said, winter was hard for me. I was kind of depressed during that time. And I went back home over winter break. And then I saw, people in Florida are special. So I'm like, I caught COVID when I went back for the first time from my sister. We'll talk about that another time. From my sister. And then I was like, I don't even have health insurance in my own country, but I have it in France. I'm like, that's wild.
Yeah.
I'm like, if something happens to me here, I'll be in trouble, more in trouble than if I was in another country. Crazy. And then I shifted my mindset and I was like, you know what? I'm very fortunate. I'm very glad that I have this opportunity to be in France. And then once I went back to France after winter break, that mindset shift changed everything. I was so happy to be there. I got prettier because all the negative thoughts even made like my face ugly. I'm not even joking.
Wait a minute. Okay, so France made you prettier.
The mindset shift made me prettier.
Okay.
Because someone even commented, I was going to a church, an African church at that time, and they're like, Melissa, you're prettier now. What happened? I was like, well, thanks.
I've been here long enough. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what was the question again? I'm sorry. I just started talking.
And I was listening, so I forgot what the question was. We talked about the time you were working. Girl, I don't know.
What did I do with my time? Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after I came back, and then once February or so, I met wow, I think she's in the Exodus Summit too. I met a girl who I think she was in Exodus Summit who was also doing the program. She introduced me to one of her friends. And so we would go out dancing and stuff on the weekends. So when spring started, I was in these streets. I was out dancing every weekend, men, dating, yeah, stuff like that. That's mostly what I was doing during that time. Going to museums too.
But like you had enough time that if you had a side hustle that was not like did not contradict your visa, right? We don't say something that didn't contradict your visa. So like something you were doing online, whatever, not like we're not teaching under the table, we'll say. Would you have had time to put towards that when you were doing this program?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Okay. Especially also with like the 2 weeks off every 6 weeks. Like every time we turned around, we were on vacation. So
that is not bad. Okay. So, if you don't mind being if you can come with a little money, this sounds like a good program.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I know there are people who speak negatively about it because of the money, because you're not sure where you're going to live, or sometimes you get apartments with mold and all that stuff. But my experience was so good, and it gave me it was like an appetizer, right? Like, can I do this thing in France? How would life be like in France? And then so when it was time for me to come back to the US, I was so stressed. I was so anxious. I was like, oh my God, I have to figure out where I'm going to live. I have to find a job so I can have health insurance. I have to get a car again. Oh my God, I was so stressed. And I didn't feel like that in France. So yeah, France was a good like palate cleanser from the US.
Okay. So that program was end of 2021 to...
It's 7 months long. So the program is from October to mid-April, I believe, depending on which school zone you're in. And because I'm American, Americans, we can stay here for 3 months on a visitor visa. So I just continued after the program ended in April, and I stayed until mid-July.
Okay. All right. And you went back to the US. How long were you back in the US?
Sorry, that was not, the eye roll was not directed towards you. Going back to
No,
the
I roll. I just thought of you saying like France made you prettier because the minute you thought of the US, your whole face changed.
That's so funny. So I went back in July, and
Mhm.
then July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, and then I moved back in February. So 7 months. I was in the US for 7 months.
Okay. When you were going back in July, did you know that you wanted to find a way to come back to France long term?
I did know that. I just didn't know if it was possible because before I had looked into like there's also something called a lectrice, which is where you're kind of like teaching English or being an assistant in the universities,
Mm-hmm.
and they pay more than TAPIF, and it's like a more regular position. So that's like the ideal if after you do TAPIF to go and be a lectrice at the university. And that would give you a longer visa. So I looked into that. I looked into, am I going to do TAPIF again? I looked into, there's even something like, I don't remember what the thing is called, but like where you can be sponsored or somewhere to have like a job in France. I looked into so many possibilities. Going to school again, that's another option, like going to university, getting your master's. So I knew I wanted to come back, but none of what I had looked into worked, right?
Okay.
So when I went back to the US, I knew I wanted to come back. I just didn't know when I would. I just randomly said, oh, I'll be back June of next year. I'll find a way to do it. So,
All right. Now, why didn't that Latrice program work?
because nobody wanted to hire me.
That'll do it. Woo! Okay. Was that your qualifications or we didn't have a space? Do you have an idea of like
I think so we have to send a CV, okay, and then but I think also it's not for this position, for the lectrice position, some of them ask for a bac plus 4 or bac plus 5. So bac is like your, someone correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's like when you graduate high school, you have your bac. And then +4 means like 4 years after that or 5 years after that. So they ask for 5 years after that. But for us in the US, after high school, like undergrad, that's like 4 years. So I think it was some of the schools wanted more schooling, and some of them, I think there's so many applicants also. One school that I did get an interview for, I just don't interview well. So yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But good news, you're in France.
I am.
Also, you do interview well because you're doing an amazing job today. So we're gonna change what we say about that. All right. Okay, so you're in France. Now, what did you do to end up back in France? What was the way of getting here?
So I looked into the different visas. And there was one, and I'm also in like Facebook groups for people who want to move to France. So there's one called the Profession Libérale visa. It's like an auto entrepreneur visa. So if you have your own business. So to me, it's kind of like a freelancer visa for me.
All right, I know what's going to happen on the replay in like a month. Someone is going to say like, can you spell that for me? So even if you can't, we're not going to spell that because listen, I'm not going to ask you to spell it from the top of your head. Can you say that more slowly?
The Profession Libérale. So liberal profession visa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what is that?
So it's for if you're basically like self-employed. There we go, self-employed. And you have to show, I had to do a business plan with 3 years of projection showing what I will be doing to get money. And what they require for this visa is that you make at least the French minimum wage. And they give you a year to test out your plan and see if you achieve it. And at the end, you can request to renew it. You submit your file, and they can renew it for from 1 to 4 years. which is amazing. Like if you get 4 years, you're good, because that gives you 5 years total in France, and then you can look into getting like permanent residency, then citizenship. Okay, side note. So yes, I went for that visa because I had been doing work like I had tried before. I always wanted to move abroad, so I knew I had to get work that I can do online. So I had tried like virtual assistants, bookkeeping. So I said, oh, and teaching English. So I said, okay, this is what I'll be doing. I'll be offering my services to local companies. Already have a client where I'm doing bookkeeping for, and this is how I'm going to attract French clients, because they also want to see if you can work with French clients, because it's kind of like, why are you coming to our country if your clients aren't even here? Like, so I got a letter or showed people like, oh, these people are interested in working with me. Yeah.
And what kind of work were you doing when you applied for this visa? Or were you planning on doing when you applied for this visa?
The virtual assistants
Okay.
/ bookkeeping.
Okay. So virtual assistants, bookkeeping, is that what your background was in?
My what is that called again? My degree is in accounting.
Okay.
So, my degree is in accounting, but I've taken a bookkeeping course and two virtual assistance courses. So yeah.
Okay. So you wanted to do this profesión it's always going to sound Spanish when I say it. Liberal, the auto entrepreneur visa. You applied for it. You got approved.
Mm-hmm.
Was it hard to get approved? Did you feel like?
Listen, okay. It was actually super easy because I went into. Remember, I had said, "Oh, I'm going to move in June, whatever," but I was living with my ex-in-laws, so I kept moving the date up, right? I kept moving it up until December. I was like, I'm leaving in February. So in December, I said, okay, my daughter's on winter break. We're going to go to the visa office the first week of January. We're going to go together, submit our file. I submitted my file for myself, for my daughter. And then usually they say it takes about 2 weeks to get your response. They take your passport and whatnot. And then, so I submitted it on a Friday. They had to FedEx it to Washington, D.C. Tuesday, I think I got an email saying, "Oh, your passport is on its way." I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna find out," because they don't tell you if you got it or not.
Okay.
And then I think the next day I got it, or Thursday, and I got it. I was so excited. Oh my god! So for me, they approved my visa within 2 days of receiving it, and then I received it within 4 days of applying.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. And your daughter was approved because you were approved? Is that how that works?
So she was on a different visa, because the visa I'm on, they don't have, it's not really the family reunification part. I think I would have to be here 18 months before I could bring her in under my visa. So I applied for a visitor visa for her. So I just had to show that I'd be able to support her, like sign a letter saying I will support my daughter while we're in France, along with my financials, and she got approved for that.
Oh, nice. And how long was that visitor visa for?
A year.
A year?
The same
Okay.
amount of time as mine.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Okay. So I want to walk through on this auto entrepreneur your thing. So you've been working for a year in France. You've been living there. You've been working. February to February would be the year, right? Yes.
For
Yes.
when I was doing TAPIF? Or
No.
this one? Yes,
program.
February to February. Yeah.
February to February. Okay. And then when it was time to renew, let's talk about that. She be making faces, y'all. She be making faces. You're built for TV. Built for it. Okay, says it all. All right.
Okay, so when it's time to renew, that was the scariest part, because I feel like it was easier to get it renewed or to get approved in the US. In France, administration is notorious for being like difficult. And so this time I was more stressed also, because getting the visa, you just have to show what your plan is, and that you have enough money to support you for the year. Now this is the time to like show, hey, I did what I said I was going to do. I made the French minimum wage. The French minimum wage is not that much. I think it's like 1,700. less than 1,800 euros per month currently. And but I was so stressed because there were some months like I didn't make the minimum wage because you're starting a new business and whatnot. You have to get all your documents because you do a medical visit when you get here. So you register, get a medical visit, then you have to do some civics classes where they teach you about like the history of France and blah blah blah. They also test your French level, and doing the civics classes depends on which visa you're on also. So I did all those things. So all the admin things that I had to take care of were done. It was just the financial part that had me freaking out. And then so I made my appointment. Actually, didn't. I requested an appointment because when you go online, in my county city, I'm looking at the questions. I'm getting distracted. When you go online, you request an appointment, and they come back to you and tell you your appointment is on this day. So they don't care if you're available or not. They don't care about your availability. So I think I requested it in September because my visa expired January 31st, and they tell you to renew it 2 to 4 months in advance. So I requested it in September. They didn't get back to me till mid-November. Then they said, "Oh, this paper that you have is outdated." Like I had to give a paper showing like where I live and the date. They wanted a current one, and I was like, "Well, it was current when I sent it to you like 2 months ago." So I had to redo that, send it over, and then so that was mid-November. Then they gave me an appointment beginning of January. I went to the appointment. They made me cry. They said, "Your file is rejected. We're not even looking at it." I was crying, but there was an epiphany. That was a good thing. We can talk about that later. Getting rejected was actually good. I made another appointment, and I went. I got the same lady from my last appointment. That was funny. I was looking for.
Oh, she's waiting for you at the door.
I was like, "Are you guys kidding me? There's like 8 other people here. Why is it this lady?" And then we got farther along. This time, I think they told me they're like during this appointment, they're like, "Oh, the picture you're wearing a turtleneck, so we can't accept the picture." I was like, "France, are you kidding me right now?" But luckily they had a photo booth in the place. So I said, "Whatever you want, ma'am." At this point, I'm like, "Whatever you say." I give up now. At this point, got the picture. And then she asked me for like, "What's your mom's name? What's your dad's name?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't get to this point last time. That must mean I'm farther along." Yes.
Right now? Okay.
And told them their names. And then they gave me not a new visa. They gave me an extension because they're going to look at my file. So they gave me a 6-month extension to look over my file and see if they're going to let me stay in their country, basically. And then she said, "If you haven't heard back from us in 5 months, request another extension." So I don't know how many extensions I'm going to get before they say yes or no.
Okay, so it took them 2 days to say, "Yes, you can come to the country," but 6 months or more to figure out if you can stay where you already are. Okay, all right. Bureaucracy is going to bureaucrat. So, all right. You said they had to test your French level.
Yeah.
Did they do that in the initial application, or is that something they only do at the renewal process?
They did it not at the renewal. They didn't care at the renewal. They did it after I registered, because once you get your visa, you come in and then you have to pay like a visa fee. Like I don't remember how much it was. You have to pay to register your visa, and then once you do that, then you'll get a letter saying, "Okay, you have to do your welcome visit and your medical visit." And it was at the welcome visit that they tested my French. Yeah. And then what's cool about that, they say, "Do you want to take language classes to get to a higher level, or do you want to take a test so that you can prove your current level for free?" So that was cool.
Okay, so if I applied for this program I have 0 French, I have negative French, would they would that matter? Would they like, would I have a problem if but like I got through the program, got the application, ended up in France, and I was like, oh no, I don't speak this. Like, what are you talking about? What happens then?
Then they would offer you language classes to get
Okay.
you up to like at least an A1, depending on what you want to do. So depending on what the French level required depends on what you want to do. So if you want to, I think for my visa, I didn't even need the French proof that I spoke French, but I gave it to them anyway because I'm like, I don't trust y'all. I'm giving you everything I have.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, so it depends on what you want to do. I think if you're coming on the same, so if you're on the same visa as me, I didn't really need to prove my French. But if I wanted to stay here for 10 years, it was time for my 10-year, like to get 10 years residency, then I would have to be at a certain level. If I want citizenship, then I have to be at a certain level. They actually just increase it with the new immigration laws. They increase the level you need for those.
Okay. All right. The medical visit. Now, it's funny is that I have a client who hit me up once having like a very bad day because her and her partner went to France and then they did the first part of the visa and then they were like in the streets. They were all over the EU doing whatever, they left the country, whatever. And then they got that, I guess, an email that like your medical appointment's on this day. See you there, right? And it was like, no, like, does this work for you? No, nothing. Show up, be here. So what happens at that medical visit that you have to be at?
Because you needed to renew your visa. But what happens it's really like a chill visit. So I think they weighed me. They did an x-ray of my lungs, I think to make sure I don't have tuberculosis. They checked my height, my weight, my vision. And they had a doctor talk to me about my health history and if I need therapy. And that was it.
But like, if you needed therapy, were they about to be like, here's where to go for free?
Well, they gave me a letter that I could take to my doctor, my primary doctor, and to get a referral for therapy.
Okay.
Would it be free in that case? I'm not sure.
Okay. But I'm like, why are we talking about it if y'all not going to give it? What are we talking about here?
Because they also asked, they're checking to see if the letter you receive after your medical visit says, oh, this person is healthy enough to stay in France. So I don't know if they'd be like, no, they're too crazy to stay in France. They need to go home.
But like, if you're unhealthy, are they going to be like, I wonder what unhealthy and can't stay in France actually like, what that looks like. Is it like, I don't know, they have, that's what I wonder. I guess what would it be that you could have where they'd be like, please get out of our country, right?
I'm not even sure.
Like, if it's like measles or something like super, I get that, but like on a general basis, what are they going to be like? She's not okay. Like, get her out of here.
That's a good question. I wasn't even worried about that. I was like, can I stay? Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about why getting rejected was good for you. What was the epiphany?
Okay. So because that caused me to reevaluate everything. So I was like, my daughter was here at the time too, fortunately. So she was like, it's going to be okay, mommy. But it's because France had always been my dream, right? Like I said at the beginning of this interview. And for me, it was almost like France or nothing. Some of my passwords were really like France or bust. It's not my passwords anymore, but that was like France or that's it for me. I'm done. Mm-hmm. But since I've been here and I'm here, I felt like I had to stay here because this is my dream. I felt like it'd be irresponsible to be like, oh, I came to France, I don't like it, I'm moving somewhere else. Like, you have a kid, Melissa, you need to settle down, you need to get it together. But actually, after the getting rejected, it made me think, I'm like, do I like France? Actually, do I like Paris? Is this what the kind of lifestyle I want to have? And I realized that I'm more of a free spirit. I like to travel around. So even if it were, well, first of all, I realized I'm not a city girl. So maybe another city besides Paris where people are not as like city-like stressed and whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, maybe I need to visit another country. I think I'm like, I want to move around. I want to slow travel, maybe live 3 months in one country, 3 months in another one, and move around. And I would never have thought about that if I hadn't gotten rejected. I would have just been like, France is where I'm going to be until I get citizenship. But now I just feel like the world is my oyster, and I can go anywhere.
Okay.
So I'm just super excited to see where I'll end up.
Okay. All right. But you still have your application in for the visa there. Because
Yes.
a visa in France will allow you to live in a lot of other countries, right? Or do you have to actually stay in France? Like, can you spend a lot of time, more time than a regular American in other countries in the Schengen zone? Or are you limited? Do you have the same limits?
I know, like, if I want to, for example, get like citizenship or like permanent residency in France, I have to show that I can't have been outside of France for a long time
Okay.
during the 5 previous years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's helpful to know.
Mm.
Boop, boop, boop. Let's go to some of the questions. There's one. Do you know if people who are 65 plus are still exempt from language requirements?
I'm not sure
Yeah,
about
I
that.
don't know what the question applies to, whether it's to one of the programs or one of the visas. I don't know.
Because I think there was a thing where if you're over a certain age, you don't have to worry about the language requirement. I haven't heard that they took it away.
Okay. All right. Aileen has a great question. Can you bring your own business and get residency as long as you meet the minimum wage requirement? So, like, does it have to have some relation to France, or can you just be like, I'm making money, I'm here?
So the visa I'm on, it could be a new business or a business that's already in process, but you have to check, for example, is it something that's regulated? Like if you're in the medical field, if you're a therapist or an accountant, for example, like that's regulated, and you would have to be like regulate or registered in France to do something like that. But if you already have I don't know what kind of business, if you have like your own, I don't consulting business already, yeah, you can bring that over, but they will still want to see, oh, that you have more than one client, and having French clients, it's like important. You need to show them that you're going to get French clients, or how you're going to get French clients, or you have French clients that are interested in working with you.
Okay. All right. That's helpful. Can we talk about your daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how old was she in 2021 when you decided to come over?
11.
All right. And what was the plan for her?
So that was when I was doing TAPIF, and I got a visa for her then as well. So the plan was she was going to stay in Florida until the end of the year, and then come with me in the new year. But she didn't want to, so she stayed in Florida. But she could have, because I got a visa for her.
Okay. And then you went back to Florida. She had you for 7 months ish.
Mm.
Yes. And then you came back to Paris and you applied for a visa with her this
Mhm.
time, right? Now, what happened then?
She's like, I don't know what I want to do yet. So I said, I'll get the visa just in case. And also I knew, like, if I leave, nobody on her dad's side is going to take her to get a visa. So I'm like, let me do that before I leave. But then she's like, she doesn't want to, my daughter likes stability. So she didn't want to leave. She was in seventh grade when I moved this time around. And she's like, she wanted to finish middle school. So let her finish middle school. And now she's talking about, she thinks she wants to do high school in the US and move abroad for university, but not France. So I don't know when I'm going to see my daughter again. No, just kidding. Uh, I saw she came over for winter break. She flew by herself. First time on a plane, she flew by herself
That's a
to
long
France.
flight too. Okay, little mama.
I'm so proud of her. But she said she liked it. She said there was nobody to bother her. Like she didn't have to hear any drama, so she liked it. And
Okay.
she came, and we visited all of Paris. It was great. Of course, I was crying. I was crying so hard when she left, but Yeah. So for now, I see her during breaks, school breaks.
Okay. And she's okay with that.
My daughter is funny, and she's going to be happy I'm talking about her. We did a mock interview yesterday. We practiced, and she's like, you better talk about me.
Awesome.
What is it? Is she okay with this? I asked her because there's a mom guilt. You feel like you're a bad mom if you're not with your child all the time. And I asked her, I'm like, are you sad that I'm gone? She got used to me being gone during TAPIF because I wasn't there for 10 months. So this time around, she's used to it. But I also, do you want me to come back? And she's like, mommy, she's like, this country is a mess. Just save yourself. She's like, don't come back here.
I love that. That's really sweet. It's really thoughtful. How old is she now? She's 13?
She's 14 now.
Oh. Okay, so now she's like, that's cool. My mama's in France, but I'm gonna be right here in the US with other responsible adults who love her and take care of her.
Yes, her dad and her grandparents.
And it's something like, y'all gonna talk about me for saying this. And I don't know how to say it without making it sound terrible. You don't have to unfollow me for saying this. Just know, but it's a much better thought in my head. But I love seeing women leave their kids. I do. Like it sounds terrible. But what I mean is that, like you said, like she's with other people who love her, and we always see like men leaving and women who feel like no matter what happens, they have to be with their children. So it's so refreshing to see like women say like, you have another parent, right? You have another parent who loves and is not endangering you and is taking care of you and has, grandparents. And like, if one of us has to leave or one of us chooses to leave, it's not always the man that gets to walk away and leave the kids behind. Not that you're leaving her behind, but you know what I mean.
I know. And I completely agree with you because I'm of the same mindset. And so I was like, that's not fair. Why would guys leave and then it's okay? It's normal. But as a mom does it, she's a bad mom. I'm not a bad mom. I'm not. I ask her all the time. She says, no, I'm good. So, so one of the considerations I had, or one of the hesitations I had before leaving was my daughter. Do I wait until she's finished with high school? Like that feels like that would be the responsible thing to do as a good mom, right? But I couldn't. I could not wait. I could not wait until she finished high school. Like something inside of me was gonna like burst if I waited until she left. And now as much as French admin bothers me, as much as I'm rolling my eyes about it right now, I am happier. Like I don't know, I'm at peace. And my daughter sees that too. And I feel like I can be a better mom to her because I'm taking care of myself. And we talk all the time. We talk every day. I help her with her math homework all the time, like we do. So yeah, like it's almost like I'm with her. So thank goodness for technology and all that stuff. But we have a wonderful relationship.
Yes. And it wasn't, not that this would make you a bad mom anyway, but it wasn't like you were like sneaking off in the middle of the night, like she won't notice I'm gone for a couple. Like you every time you got your visa, you got a visa for her. Yeah. She was just the one who was like, "No, I'm good," right? And I think it's amazing that you were able to provide an opportunity for her to choose, right? Like she'll always look back at this and say, like, she's the one who made the choice, or at least hopefully she'll remember that she's the one that made the choice. And it's amazing.
She's very happy about it because when I saw it after the rejection of my first application, my renewal application, I expected her to be like, "Oh, well, I guess you're coming back home now." And she's like, "Oh, where are you going next, Mom?" Like, and that helped me feel even more free. I was like, she's not expecting me to come back. Even her dad was like, "Oh, maybe you should check out Switzerland." I was like, "You're okay with me not being here?" And I'm stressing out about it. And she's doing research. I was like, "I'm thinking about Kenya or blah, blah." She's like, "Okay." She's like looking up the visa requirements and all that stuff. She's like, looking, and she's like, well, I'm gonna help. She's like, Mom, tell them that I'm your assistant and I'm good at, she's like, I have good grades, tell them I make straight A's and then I'm good at research and all that stuff. So I guess if you guys want an assistant, my
she's a virtual assistant's assistant.
okay, I guess.
I love that. I love that she's like doing that stuff, and like you're building up in her like an ability to know that she can be okay in other places, right? If you can be okay in other places, she knows she can be okay in other places. And so the idea of her going abroad for college just is more real, right? Like she's seen you do it. She knows the steps. She knows it's not just, and then I applied and then I was there. You know what I mean? But like there's a process, there's some bureaucracy, but it's possible to get to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Also, I love that when France said no, they said more of like a, give us some time to figure it out. give us well, here's 6, you know what I mean? Instead of like, now in Mexico, I'm gonna tell you, in Mexico, that would have most likely been like, this was fun, but it's time for you to leave the country. Right? When there's like when there's an issue like there's not a lot of like flexibility beyond like what is done every day for the, like if you don't fit in the box that you're supposed to be in every day, a lot of it is like, okay, no, bye. So it's very nice to see that like France, and maybe that is part of the regular process. Like if we don't know what to do, we just extend it and then we'll extend it again. And so you're here, you're there legally instead of having to go somewhere else while they figure it out. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so your daughter's happy. She's at home. Your sister got you sick, so we need to talk about her. But like, what do you miss about the U.S., if anything?
I do miss the food. So I have a Haitian background, so I miss like my Haitian food. I miss island food, like Jamaican food. I miss that. They do have Haitian restaurants over here, but I feel like it's better and cheaper in the U.S. So I miss Haitian food. I miss like Chick-fil-A. And so I miss food. I miss the Florida sunshine because here it's like winter for 6 months. It's like, anyway, it's too much. What else do I miss? Is that it? No, it can't be. Hold on. Is that it? That might be it. Food. Sunshine. I mean, besides my daughter, that's it, I think.
Okay. What are the things that now that you've had them in France, you would love to pick them, if you leave, you'd love to pick them up and take them with you wherever you go? It's not the weather. We already covered that. But like, what are those things where like, now that I've experienced this, I want more of it in my life?
Oh, that's a good question. That I want more of in my life. I didn't prepare for this question. Hold on. What are some things that I want more of in my life? I could say, like maybe this is like the beauty, the skincare products. I'm doing more of that here, and it's like less expensive, and more in good quality. What else do I miss? I mean, what else do I like? I think it's just like the experiences overall. Like, for example, here they have like free museum Sundays, and so I like to take advantage of those and go out. Here I feel like my Haitian culture is appreciated more. I mean, there are a lot of Haitians in South Florida, but here like the African community is like very, they kind of like respect Haiti a lot because of its history and stuff with independence. So I like that. So I'll go. Somebody asked in the chat what kind of dancing. It was like compa, like Haitian dancing or Afro beats and stuff like that I like to do. So I think it's just like the experiences of living here. The dating has been interesting. Yeah. So the experiences, also like the food here. Like I just bought some blueberries. They were so good. Oh my God. They were like sweet. Sometimes I come at Aldi's, I would buy them and they'd be sour, and you'd be like, "What is this?" But here, like the food quality is so good, and if you buy like food in a week, like my bananas or my mandarins, they'll be like moldy because there's no like preservatives or stuff, whatever it is on them. So the food quality, I'm healthier over here, so better quality of life.
I actually want to know. I think some of y'all might know where I'm going with this because I hold some bitterness about this. Why fruit in France tastes good, while fruit in England tastes like the thought of fruit. It tastes like the blueberries I had in London were like, we took one blueberry, we put it in a blender with a whole bottle of water, and then we dispersed this flavor amongst all the other blueberries. Like
Uh,
the fruit was just real weak. There was no flavor. It had the color, but not the flavor. Why can France get it right and England can't? What's happening? What are we doing? See, this is why they should have never left the EU. They would have had some good fruit. I feel it in my spirit. This is why Brexit was a bad idea. Y'all would have had some real good fruits. Instead, sorry, I have a little bit of bitterness.
I'm gonna go over there and try some blueberries now. I'm gonna hop on the train and get
Pineapple
some
was like,
blueberries.
I mean, it's yellow, but it's like water.
Mm-mm.
Adelia says, "Is it the radiation?" I don't know where the radiation. I listen. I feel like there's a longer question there, and I don't know it, but I don't know about this radiation. All I know is the fruit was fruit colored. It was not fruit flavored.
Mm-mm.
It was real bitter. Everywhere I went in England, I was like, what is this? Why don't it taste like a fruit? Anywho, sorry, I need to sit with that for a second. Okay, so men. Let's get there. Let's get there for a second. You said it's one of the reasons you liked being in Paris, but you also said that dating was interesting.
Mm.
Usually, when we say dating is interesting, as women, we don't really mean it as a positive. Did you mean that as a positive?
Mm.
Okay, all right. So the men, did they hoodwink you? Did they make you think it was a bad idea? Then you showed up and you were like, "Oh no, that's not it." What's going on?
So the first guy that I met the first time I came here, like he was a good example of a guy. He was like, normally I go out with the francophone Africans. That's my type. So he was like from Cameroon, and he was like a gentleman. You know, he paid for dinner. He was handsome. He was tall. It's like this is like Black Emily in Paris is what I felt like. It was like great, you know. And then after that, it was like. So he was a good downhill. So he was a
I'm
good
sorry,
first.
downhill after him or downhill with him?
Oh, after him. Because
Okay.
I was there, it's also like that's like you're on vacation, you know? So you have a good time while you're on vacation. And then when you go home, they forget about you. So we actually stayed in contact. He's actually still my friend, living with his girlfriend now. So then, but the other guys I have met, I still had like the rose-colored glasses on. So I was like, I'm gonna date guys that come from every country in Africa. That was like my goal. I'm still working on it. I hope my daughter's not watching this. Okay. And it's different because like their mental. Okay. So I like them compared to like them Black American men mentality. I like that. But I feel sometimes that they can be like very traditional in the rules and the what they expect from a man and a woman, depending on if they were how long they lived in Africa, depending if they were born in France, stuff like that. And so that's different. And then I feel like sometimes France is supposed to be like the country of romance and love, the city of love, or Paris anyway. And I don't feel the romance here. All like it's rare. Most of the times, I feel like the men feel like I don't know, like you show up, I show up, we're good. I don't know, like there's no wooing. Anyways, and here it's interesting. I will mention, I've heard this said a lot, that here they believe you're dating, like they don't have the talk. Like, are we together? What are we doing? It's like, oh, I saw you 3 times. We kissed. We're together, but we don't have to talk about it. We just know we're together. And I was like, oh, then in that case, I have 5 boyfriends right now. I didn't know.
And those boyfriends probably all have 5 girlfriends. So whatever. What is the main difference you see in mindset between African American men and the men you're coming in contact with in Paris?
More open-minded and realizing like there's life outside of the country they come from. So they're more global citizens, I feel like, global-minded. And that I like a lot. They also have a certain like a charisma, like their swag is different. I feel like the swag in America is like more laid back, more chill. Here it's like classy, refined a little bit. What else is different? The mentality, like the way of dressing can be different, although more and more they're starting to dress like Americans, but their style is different. What they expect from a woman is different. Here also, a lot can be Muslim. So that's different to that. I'm used to guys who like they can say they're Christian, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just that's what they identify. But here it's like if they're Muslim, that's a big part of their culture. Like right now is Ramadan. So they're really into that, and that's really important for them. And I didn't come across a lot of people who are Muslim before, so I had to figure out how to navigate relationships with them. So I would say religion, they're more open-minded too. So.
Open-minded about what?
Like open. Some things they're more narrow-minded, but in terms of what I mean is more like they're more global citizens. So they come from their country and they speak more than one language. They might speak they speak at least 2 or 3 languages. They've traveled. They are like setting up businesses. They're here for higher schooling. I don't know. I just feel like mentally I don't want to sound like a snob. I just feel like mentally they're more on my level.
Okay, but what you're talking about, I'm gonna guess that you see it in the Black men you've come in contact with because you're coming in contact with Black men, but it's probably something that is just alike all throughout the culture. In fact, that like America tends to be very like America centered. And so, it's harder for people to get out of that mindset. Whereas if you're from another country, right? Like if you're an immigrant anywhere from another country, it's probably easy. You're probably a little bit more open-minded about certain things around and maybe speak more languages. America just doesn't tend to appreciate a lot of that. And so we tend to focus on so much on,
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's it. And I think that's why I can relate to them more. And also because I came from, like, I'm the first generation for my family to be born in the US. So my parents were immigrants. And so I have I feel a mixture. Like I say I'm like too Haitian to be fully American, too American to be fully Haitian. I'm like a combination of the both. So I can relate to like the immigrant way of thinking more. I feel more at home with that. So I think that's also why I enjoy spending time with them. And also they speak French. I mean, like if a guy's talking to you in French, it's like, whatever you said, I like it.
I dated a long time ago in the US. I went out a few times with this Mexican guy who would like whisper in my ear in French. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Wait a minute. Wait, you got like, woo, make it stop because I cannot handle this.
It's nice.
It was, woo! Yes, it was. All right, so let's talk. You mentioned something about like Muslim men and navigating that. What are the other cultural spaces you've had to navigate through being in France, being in Paris, and how has that been for you?
Other cultural spaces.
Like
Um,
differences.
so there are, I mean, like the non-people of color that I had to. I don't actually deal with them that much, actually. I think I've gone on a date though with one. That was hmm, that was an experience, and but it's mostly because I'm hanging around like the black people. It's mostly like either Muslim, but each culture, each country, they have like their own customs too. So even the religion part, but as an American or Haitian American dealing with someone who's like come from Africa, it's different also. So some things that I do they don't understand, and some things they do I'm like, oh, that's different. Can I give you examples right now? No, not right off the top of my head. I can't remember.
Listen, when that spotlight is on you, it's hard to think. Your brain shut half
it,
the
it
brain
is.
down. Like, what am I talking about? Okay. Now, in this phase of your life, you're working for yourself, right? How are you making friends? Because you're not making them at work, right?
Right. So that part is hard. Like loneliness when you're living abroad is hard, especially during the winter months. Oh my goodness. So I'm on meetup groups. I joined a meetup group it's for expats and French people. So the group leader likes to mix the two so that we feel less alone. I become friends with her. We went to go see the Bob Marley movie the other day. We become close. So through that group, I've met people. So it's through that meetup group and dating is how I'm meeting people. I mean, the dating apps. That's how
Okay.
I'm meeting
So
people.
you're meeting friends through the meetup group. And my other question was, how are you meeting the people you're dating? But you're meeting them on apps?
I'm meeting them on apps when I go out dancing. Um, where else do I meet? I met one on a language exchange app. Um, I'm open to anything, anywhere. Uh, yeah.
Okay. So what apps are you using
For dating,
for dating?
Hinge, Bumble. I've tried the French app called Adopt, or and there was another and Meetic. Yeah, and I was just on one called Boo, and
Called
that's
what?
not a French app. Boo, like a ghost says boo, or like hey my boo. Like yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. And which ones have you had the best luck with?
Hinge is good. Bumble, Hinge and Bumble. The French apps, Adopt and Meetic, weren't that good. I met a cute guy on Meetic though, but that's all he had going for him. So cute guy. But Hinge, I like, and Hinge I've used in the US too. Bumble, but I'm gonna get off of them. I feel like the universe is like Melissa. When you reach the level you're supposed to be at, that's where your guy is. I feel like I'm gonna meet him on a first class flight to wherever I go next. I'm like, just get your money up. You're gonna meet him on a first class flight somewhere. So I'm getting off the apps, and I'm just gonna wait.
Now, I don't want to show up as like a party pooper on that one.
And don't tell me nothing. What? Tell me.
All right, no. We've moved on. We've moved on. Here,
Don't
man,
tell me.
that's why I met him on a first like I was sitting next to a guy on my last first class flight or business class flight who had just come from getting hair plugs. New.
Okay.
So you can see like that they scalped him back here and
Ah,
slapped it on up top because it's new. With or without the hair, he would have been an attractive man, right? Right?
okay.
No, I see it. I see the vision. I see the vision. But also, like, I see your wife. Why is she here? What's going on? Why are you married? Like, where the single men I don't that are attractive.
Mhm.
I'm not seeing them. I was willing to look past the redness in all the areas. Now his wife was carrying like she went shopping. I
Mhm.
was flying from France, and she either had like I think she had a Hermes bag, like the shopping bag, and I was like, I see it, I see it,
Mm,
I see it. But like, where are the singles? I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
don't know where the singles are. I don't know.
So I'm just concentrating on my money right now, and then I'll meet him when I meet him.
Mm, all right. Okay. We gonna put our blinders on. You're gonna meet him when you meet him.
I'm gonna meet him when I meet him, and I'm gonna enjoy my life, travel in the meantime.
Yes.
That's it.
All right. So you talk about your life on your YouTube channel, right? And like the ways that you like what you've done, the program, etc.
Yeah,
Melissa's YouTube channel is Melissa Goes Abroad. Or did I make that up?
right.
I make this stuff up sometimes. All right, I'm gonna grab that link and drop it in the comments. You guys go subscribe to her channel.
Yay.
You
And
can
I'm
do.
gonna do. I think I don't know why. I think I did just like getting used to life in France and stuff. I was not paying attention to my YouTube channel, but now that I've settled down, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start posting about life in France. So
I think it's really easy, like when you're in a new place, to like want to go do the things, not
yeah,
talk about the things, right?
yeah, yeah.
Like
And
it's
then also
really
like in the admin stuff, like trying to be like, oh, how do I stay here? Like get all my stuff in order. Like you're trying to figure that out. Like, where am I gonna live? Like, where's the grocery store? Like, where's the bank? How do I open an account? All of that stuff, and then it like takes up your mental
all your
bandwidth.
time. Yes. Why is it so hard just to live? Okay, so you second go round of his visa, we're looking at doing admin work
Mhm.
and bookkeeping. But now you have transitioned into being a move abroad coach. See?
See,
We
we. Um, let's see. Okay, so really, I did the virtual assistant, the bookkeeping, because I was like, let me put something on this paper so France will let me in their country. So I did that. But what I found is because I'm so happy living abroad, and because I'm in the spaces like Exodus Summit and all the other where there are people who wanting to black sit and all that stuff, I'm like, I see that a lot of people who look like me who also want to move abroad or who asking like, how do I do it? Where do I start? You know? And I like to inspire, encourage people. I like them to mm, like go out of their comfort zone and experience a better life. I don't like people to be miserable, you know? Like
Mhm.
I'm like, and if I can help you figure out a plan to move abroad so you can experience the kind of life that you want to do, like that to me is like amazing. Like I feel fulfilled doing that.
Okay. Is there a type of client, type of person who wants to move abroad that is right for you, like right to work with you?
Um, so my ideal client would be I had someone who so Black women. I looked into helping other types. Like I've been on calls with other people, and I resonate more with Black women. So Black women who are mm, doesn't even have to be serious. Who like really, really not happy with what their circumstances now, and they're like, I need a change, and moving abroad is that change for me. So someone who's decided this is what I want to do, I just am not sure how to start. Like someone who just needs somebody in their corner. And I'm a very like soft spoken. People say that like laid back, like shy, introverted person. So I'm not like that forceful like personality. So probably someone who's not who need if you need someone to be like, do this now and blah blah blah. Like, what are you? You're a loser. That's not me. I'm not gonna do that. I'm like the soft spoken maternal type person. So if you're okay with that, that's the kind of client that would be
Okay.
good for me.
Now, certain age,
Mid 30s, mid
moving
30s,
to
early 40s.
a specific country.
It doesn't need to be a specific country because all the stuff I did to move to France, because France was my dream, but that's not the only country I looked into. So all the things I had to do and finally decide on France is applicable to if you're looking to move somewhere else as well.
Okay. So it does not have to be a specific country. Moving on like a specific kind of visa,
Um,
or
so
do you have an idea?
So a visa, I can help them figure out like what depend. We'll figure out like which country they want to move to as well, because and then we can look into what type of visa they're into. But like if someone who wants to start their own business, that would be ideal, I think, because that's an easy way to move to a lot of places.
Okay. All right. So mid 30s, early 40s, wants to move anywhere, does not need someone to yell at them because Melissa's not going to yell at you. And what else?
Mid-30s, not gonna yell at you. And who's open? Who's just like ready to do it, you know? Who's just ready to do the work and just take it from a dream to reality.
All right. Fun question for you, or not. We'll see. I know you're in a bunch of Facebook groups. I'm sure you're in a bunch of Facebook groups of expats.
Mhm.
What is the question that people who hoping to be expats ask that drives you crazy?
That drives me crazy. You know, it doesn't drive me crazy because I'm like, you don't know what you don't know. So
Okay.
I'm like, I think it's courageous to ask questions when even people will be like, that's a stupid question. We have it all the time. Just look just scroll, just research. I understand. But I will say the question I see often is like, how do I get started? That's like the number one question. How do I get started doing this? Like, what's the first step? But there aren't questions that drive me crazy because I know, huh? What's the question that drives you crazy?
I've got a few, but most
Tell
of my
me.
questions are like things that don't relate, like things that I think aren't going to be really helpful. Like, where do y'all work to move abroad? Like, there's a chance. There's like a 1 out of 1,000 chance that is going to be helpful to one person one day. But 9 times out of 10, like where I work ain't gonna do it. Like you know what I mean? Like if someone's job is hiring and they work remotely, people are most likely to already put it in a group, right? Or like, what does it cost to live in France? That's one of mine. Because answer the question, Melissa. What does it cost to live in
Oh, I
France?
was like, is she saying one of her pet peeve questions or is she asking me the question?
I am now asked. That's one of my pet, like that general question is one of my pet peeves. So I want you to answer that question since there's no bad questions.
Okay, so the cost of living in France, that depends on where you're living. So if you're living in Paris, it's definitely going to be higher because it's a city. So if you're moving in the suburbs, it's cheaper. Now, I can only speak to where I live currently. So, for example, where I'm renting right now is like 700 euros, okay, for a 1 bedroom. If you go to Paris, I know somebody, the girl I mentioned before, she's renting a studio in Paris for 1,600 euros. So it all depends on the location.
Okay.
The end.
Okay.
Is that an acceptable answer?
It's an acceptable answer. But like at the end of the day, the answer is it depends, right?
Yes.
That's why I hate that question, because the answer is it depends.
But I feel like because like we're in the space for so
Yeah,
long,
I
we
know.
know the answer is it
I know.
depends. They don't know that yet.
Yeah, but like I'm not mad at anyone individually for asking it. I just think it's generally there are much better questions to ask. That's one of those questions where I'm like, or like, in some groups you see a more general like, how much money do I need to move out of the US? Maybe where you like, right? Like that, like those are the questions where I'm like, I don't. There's nothing we can do here until you tell me more information. But anyhow, that's just me being old and codgerly. You're not as old as I am yet. One day she's gonna have a list, y'all. She's gonna have a list of questions where she's like, stop asking these.
I'm like, Rashida, I have my list now.
Call me up and be like, so here are my 3 questions I don't want to hear again. Okay, so what is the thing that you people can expect to get, to receive, to feel from working with you?
Oh, good question. So the number one thing, and even from the calls I've had this week, it seems like people want a plan. And I've just gotten into astrology. So I realized like I'm a Virgo, right? Sun, and a
Mhm.
Cancer, moon, ascendant, rising. So the Virgo part of me likes planning stuff. Like I love organizing things. I love Excel. Like Bay. I love them. And the Cancer side of me is like the maternal side, and the maternal likes to travel, all that stuff. So working with me, you're gonna have your plan to move abroad. Like we're gonna develop a concrete plan. I go through the different steps. We go from the dream phase. We go from talking about research. We talk about the admin stuff. We talk about what to do when you're in the U.S. What to do when you get to your new country. So we get a plan. So they'll have a plan, and then they will also leave motivated because it can be uh, depending on who's around you, or if you're the not everybody in your circle is going to be like, oh, supportive of you moving abroad, and be like, we're in the US, the best country, what are you talking about, blah blah blah, why you need to move abroad. So they're going to have a plan, and they're going to have support.
A plan. They're going to.
My water
Do
bottle.
you do you
That was my
offer
water bottle song.
do you offer like long-term work with people, or is it like a one and done kind of session?
So I am offering, we can do like a 90-minute intensive where we get like your 90-day plan, action plan set. Like we
Mhm.
work on that. Then if you want to go more in depth, I have a 3-hour coaching session. We can work more long term if someone is like, oh, Melissa, I'm ready to move now. I want to go through all the different steps of the process. I just need somebody to help me along. I can do that, but it's for mostly it's like the more we work together for a shorter amount of time. If they need more time, we can talk about that.
Okay. Now, in 3 years from now, what do you want your life to look like?
I love these questions. Do you know when I see my life on my vision board, it's there's Kenya. Don't know why. So I see myself in Kenya, living near the beach. Um, and I see myself helping women who want to move abroad. I had the dream the other day. So I wake up in my Kenyan apartment, luxury apartment. Spotify is playing on my smart TV. Flowers are on the table. The food that the chef prepared for me is in the fridge. My boyfriend is coming over for lunch. And then I have a coaching call with a client in the afternoon. And I have a current client who's like, Melissa, I did this step in the program. I'm this closer to moving abroad. So that's what my life looks like in
It's a
3 years.
nice life. Okay.
I'm
So
excited.
3 years, we're transitioning from France and we're going to be in Kenya.
3 years, we're transitioning from France. Kenya looks like it's it for right now, but I'm going to explore. I'm going to travel around and see what's best for Melissa.
Okay. That's a beautiful life, Melissa. I
Thank
like you telling it.
you. You're invited to Kenya too. I mean, France also, but Kenya.
Thank you. Yay. All right. So let's get back to TAPIF for a second.
Mhm.
Best thing about it.
That you get to experience life in France while getting paid.
Worst thing about it.
The pay.
Okay. The auto entrepreneur visa you have now. Worst thing about it.
um, the worst thing is it's trying to find the clients. That's stressful to make sure you're making the amount that you need to make. I would think that's yeah. But other than that, it's a really cool visa. I actually like it.
Best thing about it.
The flexibility. Like you don't have to rely on someone else. Like I don't have to marry somebody to be here. I don't have to go back to school to be here. I'm relying on myself, and the renewal, it's renewable, and they can renew it from 1 to 4 years. Amazing.
Okay. Um, what do you want people who are considering, Black women we're considering moving to France, what do you want them to, what's a question you want them to ask?
What's a question that I want Black women who are considering moving to France to ask? I think if they start with, can you hear those loud people? It's supposed to be soundproof here. I think if they ask, what is the visa that I qualify for, they'll be on their way. Once you figure out which visa you qualify for, that's like most of the work done already.
Okay, so I really like the way you phrased that, because a lot of people come into it with the thought of like, I don't qualify or I can't qualify, but you started off with like, you qualify for something. Let's just figure out where it is. And I think that's a really great place to start your relationship with someone you work with. It's like, all right, let's go down the list and see what it is, right? Like how we get you into this country. And France is a great place, because I've heard about the different types of visas they have, a great place to do that, to say like, okay, these are our options. Like what is the box you can get into? Because sometimes when you want to move abroad, you just want to be there, right? Like it doesn't really matter how you get there. I mean, if it's a visa, it's probably at least a year, right? You're probably there a lot of times, at least a year or close to. You can get there and figure out what you want to do. So yes, instead of thinking that like I don't qualify for anything, or I can't, like we talked about TAPIF, and that's 35 and under. So like, but that's not a place to like close the book. That's a place to say, okay, turn the page and see what else is there for you.
Yeah, and that's how I did it here, because I looked at Amsterdam, or because I'm like, they have a visa. Spain also has a teaching program. I'm like, which place has something that I qualify for? And then we'll go from there.
Let's make it happen. It happen. So I really like that spin on it of like, which visa is it? We gonna find something, and that's amazing. Okay, so what question they would ask? Who is someone that shouldn't move abroad or isn't ready to move abroad yet?
Someone who isn't ready to move abroad. Okay. I'm forever the optimist, so I want but I will say your mentality matters a lot. So if you are, I think someone who's negative, not that they shouldn't move abroad, but they won't be able to, because their mindset is preventing them from seeing the possibilities. I think anything is possible. I think anything. You can do whatever you want. But if you're telling yourself, I can't, it's not going to happen. So.
Okay. So some positive people who want to move abroad. Melissa's your girl. Wait, what's my computer doing something funny? All right. Okay. So what haven't we talked about that you want us to talk about today?
I did want to mention one thing that I'm going to be launching soon that I'm super, 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 super excited about. Because like we mentioned before, like I talked about, being in a country that's not your own, loneliness is real. It's hard. So for that reason, I've been talking to someone else that I met through Exodus Summit. We actually met up in Toulouse, so that was fun. We'll share a picture. Yeah, that was nice. But it's nice to have a community. So what I am going to be launching is an online community for Black women, expats, aspiring expats, and those who are already abroad. And it's going to be like an online hangout spot where we'll have like book clubs, we'll have social hours, we'll have watch parties. Like if you want to watch Love is Blind and be like, why did she choose that man? We can do that. We have accountability groups. And then eventually meetups and scouting retreats. So I'm super looking forward to that, because it's like the community I've never had. I just want to create it online.
Okay. That's awesome. All right. So you have a YouTube channel, which everyone should subscribe to. Subscribe. There we go. You are offering coaching services to Black women mid-30s to 40s who are positive, who want to move somewhere, and who are ready to work.
Now, if they're not positive though, because mindset, I thought I used to be positive, but I realized I wasn't as positive as I thought. So,
All right.
like, we can work on the mindset part too. So, if you want to move abroad and you're like, I need help with the mindset, because I've been working on my mindset so hard, so hard. I didn't realize I needed all that work. So, I've been working on that too. So, if moving abroad is something you want to do and you just don't know how to do it, then I would love to help you.
Okay. She's here, y'all. She is here. All right. So we talked about your upcoming endeavors.
Mhm.
We talked about your daughter. We talked about the men. I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Um,
Y'all, have I forgotten anything? Let me know in the comments if I forgot anything. Hair. Let's talk about
oh,
hair.
okay.
I mean, I would expect it to be reasonably easy in France, especially in Paris, to get like black hair products and to get your hair done. Yes?
So what it's like. Okay, so there is a place, yeah, Paris is good for that because there are a lot of African immigrants here. So there's a place, especially like Chateau Rouge, Chateau d'Eau, in the 18th arrondissement, where you will have people who sell hair care products, like shops who sell hair care products and people. It's literally you get off the metro, you're rising up the metro, they're waiting for you, like both sides of the exit. They're like nails, hair, eyebrows, or eyelashes, whatever, and they're like waiting for you to come. It's overwhelming. Honestly, sometimes I have to call somebody like, "Can you be on the phone with me while I'm passing by these people?" But you can get your hair done there. Um, what do they do? Like crochet, braids. If you want more complicated styles, I feel like the US is better for that. I usually just go there to get braids. And with my lady, she's from Ivory Coast. What does she charge me? Depending on the style, like crochet was like 50 euros. And then depending on her mood, to 60 euros to 70. Yeah.
Okay. And for braids?
Braids is, yeah, it was like 60, 70, depending on your length and depending on where you go to. I've had someone who charged me like 85
Okay.
also. Yeah.
All right. What? Teddy asked about the cost of living, but we already know your apartment is 700 euros.
Mhm.
About how much are you spending on food?
Um, a week, like 20 euros. If I'm doing my big, because I do like my little shopping, and then like every 2 months I'll do my like big shopping. So the little shopping is like 20 euros. When I'm doing my big shopping, where I have to like buy the rice, buy the cooking oil, all that stuff. Oh, also I don't like to cook, so keep that in mind too when I'm giving you these numbers. So I don't buy a lot of
I'm
food
very confused by 20 euros a week.
because I don't like to cook.
Does that mean you're spending money on eating out, but we're
No,
not?
it just means I eat really simple meals. Like, so for example, like rice, right? I get some rice and you get some, or pasta, rice and pasta, and I'm good.
That's $21.
Yeah. Oh, and that's like, because I'll bet like my oat. Okay, so what am I buying in there? So oatmeal, eggs, a 1 liter of milk, pasta, sandwich meat, my Parmesan cheese for my pasta.
You're getting cheese and sandwich meat and all that stuff under 20 euros?
Yeah. Oh, my blueberry. Oh, my good blueberries. They were so good. I can't. I'm going shopping for blueberries tomorrow. Blueberries, my mandarins, bananas, bread, croissant, pain au chocolat. No, pain au lait. Yeah. Do you know like a 6 thing of water? So it's, I think it's a liter and a half. So the water is like like this
Uh-huh.
big, but bigger than this. And I get a 6 pack. You know how much I get it for?
How much?
€1.30
For a six pack of water?
for a 6 packs of like 1.5 liters of water.
I'm looking like, am I Okay, so my food budget falls very much into that's not my business. It's
Okay.
not. But when you're saying these numbers, I'm like, either I'm doing something wrong or like we're just on different spectrums right now.
I think we're on different spectrum. Like I tell you, like sometimes, like for example, too, because I wake up so late. Like I'll eat 2 times a day because I wake up like at in the afternoon. So I eat like brunch and dinner, and that's it. And then I don't eat a lot. So and it's just me. So I
20 euros a week? Girl.
and for me, I was like, oh, I'm going up in price. Melissa, where are you buying?
What is the I've been back here. Y'all gonna judge me, but I'm gonna say this number. I need you not to judge me. I have been back in Mexico for 9 days, and I've gone grocery shopping twice, and they've both been over $100. Twice in a week.
Oh, I can see why you're surprised at the amount I said. I understand.
Well, like I said, I know I don't put like my food budget just is, in the words of Stephanie Perry, it costs what it costs. Like that's not my business. Like there are budget things I consider. Food is not one of them. It costs what it costs. But the people like Jay saying that 2 jars of Rouse Ray. I see y'all talking about this. This is RAO sauce. Is it Rao? I don't know. But apparently it's, the popular pasta sauce now
Okay.
is $21. So, all right. So what's your big shop cost?
Food wise?
Mm-hmm.
When I tell you, I don't.
She gonna make me mad. She gonna make me mad. She gonna hurt my feelings. Is really what it is.
What is my big food item? Do you know? Okay, so let me say this. I was on the phone with my auntie, and she asked me like she was telling me how things are expensive where she's living in New York, but like for example, like eggs. I heard like eggs is eggs still expensive over there?
I don't know. I don't shop. I'm in Mexico when I'm spending this much money. I don't know.
Are eggs still expensive? But like I'll buy like a 20 thing of eggs for like under like €5 max. You know what I'm saying? Like I told you how much the water is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that expensive. So what's my big ticket item? I'm not gonna say rice because I don't want you to get mad at me, but I think it might be rice. But like I
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So yes, don't get mad at me.
Okay. I'm not mad. We all have to live different lives. But yeah, no, I think when I say over $100, I mean those two together may have been like $300.
Wow,
Those two
I love that for you. I love that.
But you know what? I'm not hungry. Like, and I eat like 4 meals a day. Right? I'd be eating. So I made short ribs yesterday for the first time ever, and they're
made what?
Short ribs. I already had short ribs from before, so I didn't buy those in this shopping, but I had to buy some other things to go with them.
So you like to cook?
No, I like to eat, and sometimes I cook at home.
Okay.
But we're talking about the things I bought to have in my house budget, not my going out to eat budget. That's also not a number. It is just a thing.
I love that. That is also what it's going to be like for me in Kenya. That's what I'm putting out there.
It's just things happen. Money gets spent. It's on food. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It's not my business. But them short ribs were good.
And you see, I'm not a meat person. So for me, I'm like as long as I have rice, I'm good. I just need rice. So I'm not a meat person. So that's probably also, so guys, meat is not in there because I don't eat a lot of meat.
Okay. All right. I am a meat person. I'm gonna eat the meat. I'm gonna make a pack of bacon, like an entire pack of bacon in the morning, and then wonder where it is tomorrow. Like, what happened to the bacon? Where did it go? Okay. All right. So your shopping budget is super low.
Mhm.
We know what your rent is. What are the other things that you spend money on? Two categories: the things that in France are significantly more expensive than they would be in the US, and the things that are significantly less expensive than they would be in the US.
I feel like clothes and shoes are more expensive here.
Okay.
So like, and also because I'm a taller person, like taller like than the average French person,
Mhm.
not the African ones, the other ones. Because I'm taller than, like, they don't normally have my shoe size. If I go shopping for shoes and they look at me like I'm a monstrosity, I'm like, this is normal where I come from. Thank you very much. So shoes and clothes I feel are more expensive. Less expensive groceries for sure. But what else do I have to pay for? Transportation, like the monthly transportation pass to take you around the whole Paris region, the 5 zones is 84 euros for the month, and that's bus, the train that takes you between the cities, the metro, yeah. So
Okay. Now you don't live in Paris. You live in a
the
suburb
suburbs,
of Paris.
yeah.
Um, does that mean that you don't go into Paris proper a lot, or that like it's a really easy flip over on transportation?
It's easy. Like I'm in Paris right now to come do this, and it took like let's say 35 minutes on the RER, so like a train.
Okay.
It the reason I'm not in Paris more is because I'm an introvert and I really like to be inside my room. So if I like to be in Paris streets, I could. I just like to be home.
When you're dating, does that mean that like a lot of your time is spent in Paris, or are you able to date in the suburbs as well?
Okay. So there's most of the guys I haven't had guys who live near me really in the suburbs. So they might be on the suburbs. I'm in the southern suburbs. They might be in the northern suburbs, right? Or if they're in, but we all, excuse me, if we're just meeting, we might meet in the middle of Paris, like Châtelet. Châtelet is like a center where like the trains go. There's a movie theater, Westfield Mall. Westfield is everywhere. Westfield Mall. Um, Everything there, the shops, the restaurants. So we just meet in the center of Paris.
Okay. Um, and it's worked out for you ish.
What?
The dating, the transportation, the thing, you know.
I yeah. I mean, it's annoying. I'm like, I have said like maybe the next guy I date needs to have a car, like, because the transportation can be, like there's strikes sometimes, or sometimes things are just not working. Like the other day, it was there was an accident on the line, so the train going in both directions was out of order for like an hour and a half, and you just SOL, or you have to figure out another way to go. So, and that can be frustrating when it's not working,
Mm-hmm.
when there's a delay, and there's often delays. Those are times I miss when I had my car. But in Paris, like finding parking, stuff like that is difficult. And also, I'm scared to drive here. I would be scared to drive. The roads are narrow, and they have roundabouts. I don't have roundabouts, and we didn't have those in Florida like they have here. I don't know how to navigate those.
When I was in South Africa, I was doing roundabouts, but the other way because they drive on the other side of the road. And there was one time where I was like, "Oh, we on." That was close. There's only one time though, but I was like, that was a little iffy because I'm used to looking at the cars coming from this direction, and now I got to look at the cars coming.
Was that in South Africa?
Yeah, it was in outside of Cape Town.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I was gonna say in Mexico, when I see someone who lives within like a mile of me or in a very specific direction from me, I'm like bonus points. Because if you live all the way on the other side of town, I'm gonna see you like once a month. Because like this traffic isn't on the dating app, so you're like, where's that I know where that location. Okay, right? Like you really have to be like in a geographically preferred zone, and you get bonus points.
Mm.
And if you're in a really bad zone, you lose. That's part of the equation because it's hard to get around some of these cities,
It
especially
is
not having a
hard.
car. If I got to
I
get
was
on a
just thinking
train,
today, I don't even, huh?
I said if I got to get on a train to come see you, how much do I like you? Like I got to really like you.
Not this last guy, when I met him, I was like upset, and he could see I can't hide my face, my how I'm feeling, as you guys have seen. And he's like, "Oh, next time I'm gonna call you an Uber." I'm like, "You should have done that this time."
All right. All right. So we've talked to a bunch of stuff. Let
We
me
can
see.
talk about health. Have we talked about healthcare?
We talked about you having health insurance, but not generally about healthcare. So have you had healthcare experiences you'd like to share?
Yeah. So I have found that the healthcare here is really good. So um, I will say, for example, right before I came here for TAPIF, like my health insurance ended like the month before. And so I didn't look for another one because I was leaving. And they're like, "Oh, we found something in your x-ray or your scan, and you need to do something else, like a follow-up." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't have insurance anymore." They're like, "Oh, it's going to be $500." And then when I got to France, I had it done. It was like 24 euros, so about $30.
Wait, so for the TAPIF, you got X-rays in the U.S. and brought them with you? Is that how that works?
I brought over my results, like the lab results.
Uh-huh.
I showed them to the doctor there, I mean here, and so they look at those tests, and they do like a follow-up test or their version of the test.
Okay.
So the healthcare here is easy, and I will say like it's cheaper. So for an example, since we're all women here, so I went to the pharmacy with someone who needed the morning after pill. I know how much it costs in the US. Guess how much it costs over here?
I'm guessing like 1/10, like $4, $5.
It was like €3. I was like, I could make a business buying this over here and selling it in the US. Like that would be my under the table side hustle.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, things like that. And they take the things seriously. Every time I mention like they're like, "Oh, do you have a history of breast cancer in your family?" They're like, "Oh, you should see someone who's an oncologist," or they're like, "Oh, you have pain during this, then we recommend this doctor." I was like, "Oh, thank you guys. Like, I appreciate you caring about my health." Of course, sometimes they don't have a good bedside manner, but can't have everything, I guess.
Okay, so first visa, we know how you got the insurance was kind of like included in it. What about on the second visa?
The second visa, my insurance hadn't expired, my coverage hadn't expired, so I just kept it. And then once you register your business, you put like then you also like register for the health insurance.
Okay.
Once you register for your
So
business.
that is something that I know about France. Is like if you're on a visa there, you gonna have some health insurance, right? Like you're going to, if you're legally in the country, they're gonna make sure you have some health insurance.
Yeah, I was so surprised at that. Even the ones who are not here legally have health insurance, and they have it for one of the guys I dated. Date people. I have to all these notes. Date people who are legally here, Melissa. Like, duh. So, anyways, one of the guys wasn't here legally, but he had health insurance because they have health. They believe that health insurance is a human right. So even if you're not here legally, they have health insurance for you, and it's cheaper than what the normal French people pay because they know you're here without papers. And then also because he was on that insurance, he got a discount on the transportation pass.
Okay, all right. That's so everybody gets to have insurance.
Yeah.
And it's like overall, it's such a better process, right? Like, okay, so one of the things people always talk about in America, one of the things people always say when we talk about like having any kind of like universal coverage is that it would take too long to actually see the doctor. So are you waiting a long time to see doctors?
Mm-mm. So I have my general. So there's an app called Doctolib, that we can go on and look for healthcare providers. So I got my general practitioner through that.
Mm-hmm.
I also the one thing I think like I needed like a gastroenterologist, and she said that might take a while, but here's some medicine you can take in the meantime while you wait for him. It didn't take long. Friday, I have an appointment with the podiatrist. Why did I choose him? Because he's very cute. So I'll let you know how that goes.
Now, in America, your doctor can't date you. So is
I
this a
looked into
thing?
that.
Looked it
I
up?
looked
Okay.
into that. I looked into that because I'm like, what can we do here, Melissa?
When he sees them sexy feet of yours and he's
I
not
got
able
a
to
pedicure before I went.
what's the can your doctor date you in France?
So I looked at it. So because I know France can be like more liberal about that stuff. It turns out recently they just enacted something, like maybe in 2017, where they can't have a relationship with their patients, especially if they're like a therapist, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it seems that all you have to do is to stop seeing that doctor, get another doctor, and then you guys are okay.
Okay. All right. All right now. Give him them feet. Give him them feet, girl.
I was like, and
Yeah.
I was like doing my funny bit. I was like, and oh, here they love that like I'm American. Like being American is exotic to them, so they always want to date like an American girl. I use
Okay.
that to my advantage. I use my Americanist accent.
Okay, so you have the Americanness on your side, but you also speak French. So you're able to like get through a lot of things that other people might have some difficulties with.
Yes. Yeah. So I do now. I'm at a. I saw someone asked if I spoke French. I'm at a upper intermediate level,
Okay.
so just under like advanced of French, and it's improved since I've been here. Immersion is definitely helpful, so it's
Mhm.
improved a lot since I've been here. On the health insurance part, I want to mention this too. Um, I had to go in an ambulance once, right? Because I didn't have. They're like, "Do you have someone who can take you to the hospital?" I said no. They're like, "Okay, we'll send you an ambulance." So I went to the ambulance. I took the ambulance, and then I looked on my the health insurance portal or where you can see your statements and stuff, and I think it was like the ambulance in the US is really expensive. I know that. And it was I think it was like 150 each way because I had to do two rides because they took me to a hospital that didn't specialize in what I needed. I'm like, y'all didn't know this. Anyways, so I think it was 150 for the two 150 each. And then the insurance paid for most of that. And I think at the end I just owed them no, actually I didn't owe anything for the ambulance after my insurance took care of it.
Okay. I know I say this like 17 times a week, but why America? Like why? 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 When I just swear that like we see so many other examples of how to do things better than what's happening in America. And America is still like, but we're number one. And I'm like, in what? In what are we number one in? Because I would like to work for 6 weeks and then get a 2 week vacation. I would like that. Like, what are we? What? Well, I wouldn't because I'm on vacation all the time.
That's better.
This year, I'm working for 2 weeks and then taking 6 weeks vacation, but that's neither here nor there. Um, how are we? We're like no money at all for like in America to get that. You would have to have like the most amazing health insurance policy ever, but is only available to like 6 people in the country.
The president. So I think they have because they have it might have been what I needed. So like depending on also what the problem is, they took that into consideration. And so here the in your health coverage is like health is covered at 70% by the state or by what we pay into it. So the social charges are more than I'm or oh we didn't talk about that. So social charges are a thing like I have to pay 22% of what I make in social charges, which goes towards like retirement if I need maternity leave, that stuff. So I have to pay 22% of my income, but I'm okay with that. I mean, kind of okay with that because I can see what I'm getting out of it. I get so much out of it. And then the rest, the 30% that's not covered, you can have like your supplemental insurance, which people pay for monthly that will cover the rest, you know? So like you're never going to be in debt because you had a health scare. Like, I don't have to be like, ooh, am I going to call the ambulance? Is it life threatening? I'm like, do I need to breathe all the time? If I'm just breathing some of the time, that's okay, right? I don't have to be like, I'm just going to call the ambulance, you know?
It's just wild because like most Americans are paying more in taxes than that percent of social charges, right?
Mm.
And what are we getting for it besides like the war machine? Like we're paying more a larger percent, and you're still paying taxes at home in the U.S.
So this is going to be the first year that I have to, I'm scared. This is going to be the first year that I have to do taxes on this visa in the
Mm-hmm.
US and here. So I will see April 15th. But there's a treaty between the two, like, or an agreement between the two regarding taxes. But I'm like, I'll figure it out when I get to that. I'll worry about that next month.
I feel like in most countries, the treaty is like you pay U.S. taxes, but you don't pay the other country's taxes.
I think because and the social charges are not taxes. So
Right.
I still have to pay
You're
tax.
paying twice.
So the social charges are separate. I have to pay that. And
Yeah.
taxes here are due, I think, May. So I'll do my US one. And I think I don't know, Rashida. I'm lying if I told you I don't
Listen,
know. I'll figure it
I
out.
barely know. I need to talk to a tax person myself. But yeah, no, our tax, we're just pay, and then there's no. I get. What do I get?
I think they fund the library, right? We get free books from the library.
They closing libraries left and right.
Are they?
Yes,
Oh
they
my
are closing
God.
libraries and saying they can only be open like 4 days a week and going
Oh,
after librarians. They don't want people to
that's so
read.
sad. I used to work at the library. I loved it.
They don't want people to read. I think New York, was it New York that was like, oh, we got to close down our library someday, but we're gonna hire some more cops because what? Because their mayor's trash. You've heard me say this before. I'm gonna say it again. That man is hot garbage as a leader. Okay. Anyhow, I feel strongly about a few things. That's one of them. All right. Okay. On that note, thank you so much for being an awesome guest. What are you gonna do for the rest of? Well, what time is it there now?
I don't even have we haven't had daylight savings time. We're gonna have that next week. So our clock hasn't moved up yet. Normally it's a 6-hour time difference with Eastern US. So it's 6:05 now.
Are you gonna go have like foie gras and champagne for dinner? No?
I was like, I'm gonna treat myself to a burger. I love burgers. So that is like my thing. I used to be like, oh, they'll think you're so American. You always have to eat burgers, but I don't care. I've accepted it. I love burgers. So I'm
Okay.
gonna go have a burger and a milkshake.
Okay. Go have a burger and a milkshake. Enjoy your day. Thank you for being such an awesome guest with us today, talking about France and the TAPIF program. So many details you shared. They're going to be really helpful for anyone watching this on the replay and a bunch of people watching it live. So we appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone watching, give it a thumbs up if you haven't already. Or a thumbs down, right? Like, no, I really believe vote some way or another. Give us your strong opinion. Give us your strong opinion so that YouTube knows whether to give you more of my videos or not, because I'm not going to change. Listen, the guests might change, but I'm not going to. So if you didn't like it, you don't need to see it again, right? Like, we can be done here. All right. Thank you, guys. I will see you guys. I probably won't be live next week because it's Easter and y'all probably have better things to do. So until next time.
Au revoir. Bye. Thank you for having me.